AEC firms are always searching for clues about the future, and predictive analysis is one of the industry's latest buzzwords. The New York based architectural firm Woods Bagot has taken that inquiry one step further by hiring its own futurist, or at the very least, global insight leader, Francesca Birks, who joins us today to discuss how she's transforming data into understanding and potentially opportunities. Welcome to the weekly, Francesca.
Thank you for having me, John.
Can we start off by you're describing for our audience what your role is at Woods Bagot?
Definitely. First and foremost, I want to clear up that as a global insights leader, the idea isn't that I am the single container of all worldly insights. As much as I would love to be the oracle from the Matrix, that is just not who I am. So I really see myself as an aggregator, to use a data metaphor, and a facilitator. I'm a trained facilitator. I'm an accredited facilitator. So I really see my role as facilitating the collective intelligence within Woods Bagot, and then translating that into thought leadership, into research that I think would be meaningful for us to do as a firm. So, a huge part of that is really engagement, right? So interfacing with our sector leadership, with our staff, with our clients, if that makes sense, to really understand what they're seeing on the horizon, right? Again, so I alone cannot see everything that's going on, but by working through our staff and our partners and our collaborators, we can start to gain a better perspective and understand, some of their insights in terms of what they're observing. So I go back to the role of facilitating, which is really about making it easier. I'm there to reduce the barriers and make it possible for more of our staff to participate in this process so that we can start to share more of those insights with the world.
Can you give me some insight into how your team is going to operate in terms of what its methodology is going to be?
Definitely. So I'm a huge fan of methodologies. I think I got a lot of training both in my work as a futurist at Arup, and then also as a facilitator. And I'm constantly looking for tools, methods to help unleash ideas. So I would say there are two kind of core focus areas for us. There's the engagement part, which I started to describe. And then there's really like the discovery and the exploration in terms of really getting into, the questions that we feel like we need to answer. So much of this is about the questions. So in terms about, if I think about some approaches that help us with the engagement and with the discovery, we do regular outreach to our sector leaders. So I'm constantly barraging them. Hopefully they don't mind, and just asking them, so what are you seeing? And it's really part of their responsibility, and it's an expectation of them that they actually be looking, externally, and providing us and our clients with insights in terms of what's going on in the industry. The other tool is that we actually fairly regularly facilitate client stream brainstorming sessions where we really dig into some of the challenges and opportunities that we're seeing in our client sectors. So that's something that we do. And then one of the latest, which I really like because I'm into democratizing, the way that we work, is inspired by an ideas portal on the intranet, on the Woods Bagot intranet. We're actually developing a virtual version of the, suggestion box. So we, again, really want to open up the possibility for all of our staff to contribute towards our collective intelligence.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
So that is something that we're developing. And then last, I'm going to cheat and add in a fourth, is we're going to start a global virtual roadshow, so we can start to really kind of define, as you and I are doing right now, what do we mean by global insights, and invite more of our staff to participate, because insights is kind of like innovation and point predictive analysis. There are these big kind of terminologies and words that come in vogue, and I want to demystify that. I am not, again, I'm not the oracle. I'm really here to hopefully engage more of our staff in sharing. I had someone reach out from Australia by email saying to me, I'm so excited to see that we have you. And I once recently wrote a thesis looking at architecture and design and how they can contribute towards space exploration. I was like, I want to talk to you.
Yeah.
So,
Um,
yeah.
do you think that what you're going to be producing is going to be different from, some of the thought leadership that other firms publish on all kinds of different media, including our company's website? How do you envision the content and the thrust to be different?
That's a great question. I would like to think that we will, invest in research. I think it's really important to invest in research so that we can actually produce thought leadership that is relevant and slightly different. Whether it's a client coming to us and saying, "Hey, I have this query that I'd like for you to explore." I think that we should follow through and explore that line of inquiry on behalf of our clients because it will more likely lead to a better design brief for our architects, our designers, and it will more likely lead to better design outcomes for our clients. So that makes sense for me to do.
Mhm.
Um, and when I look at Woods Bagot's long history, I definitely have a fascination and a strong respect for companies and organizations that have been around a long time. Woods Bagot's been around since 1869, and you only last that long if you manage to evolve, to remain relevant to the times. So I see in Woods Bagot this constant re-examination, reflection on how do we stay relevant. And our CEO, Nick
Mm.
Corrales, which was a huge part of why I came to Woods Bagot, his vision is really one that's focused on advocating for a practice of the future, one that really leverages the panorama of our 16 global studios in 6 regions around the world and doesn't push for a single vision of architecture and is really one about celebrates multi-authorship, diversity and inclusion, and looks to work in service of our clients, in service of our communities. And that means really, having a finger on the pulse of what are the critical issues of the day, which, as you know, John, is the climate crisis, is, the social issues of social justice and equity. And to remain relevant, we have to take a bigger view of how we as designers, contribute towards hopefully the improvement of these areas. And I think the other thing I would say is I would like for us to be far more generous in our understanding of how we develop thought leadership. So that is to say that not all insights will necessarily come from Woods Bagot, right? I would
Mm.
like to think that we have many insights, but I also think that our clients have insights. I think that our partners have insights, and dare I say, maybe our competitors have insights. So I would like to envision a thought leadership that is far more generous and pulls more people into the conversation, because the kinds of issues that we're tackling in the built environment today are far more complicated, and the solution isn't going to come from one person alone.
Is this what you were referring to in your recent writing about a global collective intelligence?
Yes, John. Thank you for bringing that up. Yes, I believe, I'm a strong believer that change can only happen with cooperation. And I think we're seeing this with COVID, and the countries who are having more success in terms of dealing with that is it's not just, although it's very important, the science is incredibly important, but if we just stopped at the science alone and we didn't move on to issues of supply chain and operations, and then also in terms of education and communications, churches stepping in to educate communities about the benefits of being vaccinated. I see someone like Bill Gates, who's just recently published a book, about how to avoid a climate disaster. And when you see the likes of Bill Gates getting involved, you know that it's going to take more of us to kind of, actually address the challenges of our time. And in the form of inspiration, I look to organizations like the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, right? Which is really focused on the circular economy and is really trying to engage the private sector, the public sector, and academics in creating research that is relevant, but also in terms of developing, guidelines and signposts for how we address this. And then there's Architects Declare, which is also, a network of architects that's saying, hey, we need to really address the issues of biodiversity and the climate crisis, because what I see in them is that they take an understanding that cooperation is important for addressing these challenges and for promoting, realistic solutions. And so at the core of the design of these organizations and their networks is the belief that we need to cooperate. And with this cooperation, we stand a chance for addressing some of these challenges.
Mhm. Well, Francesca, I wish you good luck in your new post. You certainly
Thank
have a lot on your plate right now.
I do, I probably like you, John, one day at a time, because if you think about it all at once, which, I've met futurists who do, and they're like, how do you stay positive? I'm like, what do you mean? Because it can become overwhelming for all of us. So I think, cooperation, working with each other is the way that's going to see us through. So thank you for inviting me to join you in our conversation today.
My pleasure. And thank you to our audience for watching. This is John Caulfield from Building Design and Construction.